and welcome to the Square Ball podcast, brought to you by William Hill with myself, Dave McIntyre, and Lee Keegan. It is All-Ireland Senior Football final week on the back of last week's show with Shane Dowling and Alan Cadigan, where we all called the All-Ireland final for Cork, I think. So we all got it wrong.
I actually didn't tip, so I'm clear of all.
So by sitting on the fence, that's the voice of Lee Keegan you're hearing. By sitting on the fence, Lee managed to not blot his copybook. You're definitely not going to get out of today's studio or today's podcast without giving us a prediction either way, although you're probably going to go with the draw. We need a bit of help. Lee's obviously going to play more of a pundit role than co-host today, and we need someone to back him up. So we have brought the great Kevin Cassidy in for that. How are you, Kevin?
Good, lads. Yeah, good. Nice to be here.
Thanks a million for coming up.
Yeah. Short journey.
You both made a big effort to be here with us today, so we really appreciate it. It's a novel All-Ireland, unlike anyone that I can remember in the last 15 or 20 years. It's just the 7th time that an Ulster side has played a Connacht side in the football final.
I'm sure you're going to remind me we were in 2 of those, yeah.
Unfortunately for you, of the previous 6, you were involved in 1/3 of those. And neither went your way. Obviously, Donegal 2012 and Toronto 2021. But it's just the 3rd time Connacht has played Ulster in the last 77 years. It's incredible. And it's one of the reasons why people are just cannot wait for this. They're looking forward to this as much as they have any previous All-Ireland.
Yeah, it's. I think you touched it there. It's novel. Do you know what I mean? Like Mayo are obviously not there, Dublin are not there, Kerry are not there. So you've 2 teams got up the road with real belief that they can win this one. You know, Galway have been there obviously 2 years ago, but the likes of Armagh. And when you see, I spoke to someone during the week there. You know yourself when you're playing, and everybody saying you're focusing yourself and you're not looking elsewhere. As soon as the Dubs went, people were saying, listen, this is on here for us. So it's magic for the game, I think, and obviously for the 2 counties that are involved.
There's always baggage with a team coming into an All-Ireland, whether it's carrying the pressure and the expectation, same with Dublin, Mayo coming to an All-Ireland, trying to avenge all those previous defeats. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's little baggage at Galway because they were here 2 years ago, but I don't really get a sense that either of these sides are bringing anything with them that could affect them negatively.
I don't think so, no. I don't think there's baggage from 2 years ago, to be honest. I think that was nearly a one-off in terms of Galway getting there again. I think actually it'll do them no harm having that bit of experience, if I'm being honest. And they could have got over the line that day, playing quite poorly without the class of Shane Welsh and McDade. But I think for Armagh, I think their baggage has been Ulster final, not getting over that. And I also think the quarter-final was a big hoodoo for them. You look at last year in particular, Monaghan pipping them in penalties the year before Galway. So I think they've been on a bit of a clean slate in terms of the semi-final and the final. So I think, as Kevin said, I think it's a great opportunity for 2 teams, knowing that no Dublin, no Kerry. I wouldn't even say Mayo, because when you look at champions over the years, those 2, and even Donegal to some extent, will see probably a bit of a regret from a couple of weeks ago. So, and as well, on top of that, I think it's actually more of a modern day rivalry at the moment. If you take their last 3 games, there's been only 1 score between them.
Kind of a rivalry that's gone under the radar. It wouldn't spring to mind, but...
And like you take the quarterfinal 2 years ago, sure, that game was bedlam. Like you had red cards, you had brilliant scores, you had penalties, you know. So there's a nice little backstory to these 2 teams, and the fact that they played each other this year as well, and that was a draw. That adds to the spice of it. So it's a golden opportunity, really is, and 2 teams that will go in and fully expect to win on Sunday.
Lee mentioned 2022. I bristle when I hear the whole, you have to learn how to lose first before you can learn how to win. You need to lose one before you win one, which is obviously bullshit. Like,
I know. Just ask Lee.
Dublin didn't lose one.
No.
Tyrone and the Naughties didn't lose one. Donegal didn't lose one. Tyrone in 2021 didn't lose one. It's obviously garbage. And yet people will go, oh, well, look, you have to lose one before you can win one. Galway lost in 2022. Does 2022 have any relevance when it comes to Galway being better prepared for this than Armagh might be?
No, 100%. Never agree with you. Like, listen, and people even say that I heard this week, like, listen, the pressure of the game and all this. Tell me one player in the country who doesn't want to go out and play this game. Like, you know, this is where you want to be. If you don't want to be there, you shouldn't be in that dressing room. So there is no pressure from Armagh. There's no pressure from Galway. Like you say, Armagh are not going up here saying, we'll use up experience. This is their golden chance. Galway, 2 years ago, maybe should have taken it. You know, the brilliance of Clifford taken to go away from them. But
if Armagh do lose, they've had an amazing season. Like there's going to be no blowback on them whatsoever. Like they can go out and play with this freedom.
I don't necessarily fully agree, because I still think McGeeney won't have a trophy to show for all the brilliant work he's supposedly done for Armagh. Do you know what I mean? I think he's brought them back to that competitive stage, and they're at the elite table now. But I'm not saying that there's pressure in some regards, but if they don't win on Sunday, then how do you look back in his legacy from Armagh? Do you say, oh, he brought them back to a really competitive level, or does he sign off with the biggest prize of them all?
That's an interesting question because
Yeah,
obviously the history is written by the winners.
Yes.
It's only a year ago they were trying to get rid of him, and certain people were trying to get rid of him. Obviously, we know the clubs, their delegates put it to a vote, and it was a landslide in his favour. Should his legacy be solely built upon whether they win this Sunday or not?
That's a big question, honestly is, and Lee touched on it. Like, he's there 10 years. Personally, myself, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I was looking at this Armagh team. They were falling short, and you were thinking, listen, is there a change needed? You know how sometimes just to get over the line, maybe somebody freshen it up. The clubs felt it. They voted. He stayed in the job. He has the players where he wants them. But if you don't win on Sunday, and you look back and you say, right, we didn't win in Ulster. We were beaten in the National League final. Didn't win in Ulster. Beaten in All-Ireland final. Great season for the fans and all the rest. But as players, you know, you're going back to the well then again in January saying, right, how do we improve in this? You know, we're already touching it off air. Derry's going to come back strong in Ulster. Donegal are back strong. Tyrone will come back strong with their underage success. So it's really, especially for Kieran McGeeney, like, this is a massive, massive opportunity.
It is the opportunity that lesser counties, so-called, they don't come around often. I mean, they've won one All-Ireland in their history. Donegal rarely get to an All-Ireland. They've managed to pick up a couple over the last 30-odd years. You wonder, when will Armagh ever be in an All-Ireland final again if they don't win this one?
Well, I think it's brilliant because, like, he has to win his first trophy in Armagh could be the All-Ireland, and that's. But it's not. It's a great story, you know. Like, and McGeeney being the kind of character that he is and the legend that he is, it probably would sum up perfectly to go back from winning 0-2 as a player then to do it as a manager, but win his only trophy as a manager. I'm not saying he won't be there next year, but my point is, it's not a bad story to have, walking out of Croke Park on Sunday saying, do you know what, you can talk about me in any manner you want. I don't have an Ulster league, but I have my All-Ireland medal, and sure, stick it up.
It's a funny one. We're looking at him from the outside, obviously, and we're thinking, listen, he's been there 10 years and, you know, he hasn't won anything. We were in Armagh there the weekend with the young ones. He's God. Yeah. He is God. They think that he's the only man for this job.
And that was across McGlen where they'd no time for him.
Exactly, like, you know. So it's you know, the people on the outside that Armagh don't really care. McGeeney doesn't really care. You heard the players. You heard Rena Neal after the big one. Supposedly we can't win tight games. So you know, they're creating their own siege mentality within their own squad, and you know, if it gets over the line on Sunday. I
thought Justin Nolty probably summed up. He goes, a lot of people might be backtracking, and the statue of McGeeney will be put up quicker than you know it. So yeah, we'll see on Sunday.
Yeah.
Have we misunderstood him in some ways, Kevin? Obviously you would have known him quite well, and you guys would have played international rules together. Donegal, Armagh came across each other so often during your time as an inter-county footballer. I saw an interview with Kieran McGeeney this week. Pretty much every away day they go for pints after the game. Well, they lost the Ulster final on the penalties. Obviously, devastation set in again. He let them off the leash. They went on the beer for 2 days before they rocked up for training on the Tuesday night to try and run it out of them. I didn't get a sense that there was that freedom for the Armagh players to go and enjoy themselves, win or lose. And maybe I've been completely misunderstanding the dynamic under McGeeney.
I think, again, I could be wrong, but looking from the outside, I think he's mellowed as time has gone on, if that makes sense. I remember when I came on the scene, first of all, they were obviously the top players, and you were in all-star trips and different things with them, and they were just so driven. Like, you yourself the crack in the tours, the boys go for the beer and that, but the Armagh boys would train in the morning. They were like, you know, so you were looking at him, and you know, it may have come across that he was a bit of standoffish, but that was just his mentality. That's how he went about his training. When he moved into management then, Kildare, you heard the stories that come out and the regimes they had and different things, but I think he's realised that, you know, times have changed. Players now generally look after themselves. You know, you don't need to be, you know, running with an iron fist, and I think he's got the balance right, and like, I would compliment him and the backroom team he's put together there. Yeah, it's hugely impressive, and he's not afraid to lean on those guys and to let them, and I think that by all, you know, the way people are talking, that Conor Gilligan's got a lot of control in the defensive kind of structure this year and stuff up there, so it's a great testament to a manager that's able to do that. Jim Gavin was brilliant. He was able to, you know, delegating different things. I think the top managers do that brilliantly.
Generally, when you get to an All-Ireland final, you feel the best two teams in the country have got there.
Yep.
Are these the best two teams in the country?
Yeah, they're there.
Just by virtue of the fact that they're playing each other in the final.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you think they're better than Dublin, Kerry?
We're going to beat Dublin, so yeah, straight away off the back. Armagh have done everything. Not only have they done everything that's been put in front of them, but they also have said to all of us that because we all tipped them not to win All Ireland. So for me, based on merit, that factor in the All Ireland final, they are the best two teams currently in the country, and I think it's justified by the fact of the routes they've had to come through, the games that have come through, and yeah, I think it's a justified tag in some sense for this game on Sunday, that they are 1 and 2 yet to be determined.
It was interesting, Paul Joyce talking about Kieran McGeeney after they beat Donegal in the semi-final, that he had sent him a text after their meeting in the group stage of the All-Ireland, but obviously wouldn't divulge the details of the text. But look, we're surmising that it was something along the lines of, we'll see you in the final in a few weeks' time. They're very similar lads, aren't they? They're maybe Geezer has that kind of the more steely reputation, but I wouldn't want to cross Porridge Ice either if I'd done something to annoy him.
Definitely not. And similar paths as well. Like both of them would have spent a lot of time up about Dublin here when Dublin were getting their houses in order, and I'm sure they were, listening to what was going on and taking nuggets back home and stuff. And like, I fully agree. They're the two best teams. If you split them up, Armagh, like they lost the Ulster final, but it was in penalties. They were far the better side against us. Like, 4 points up, they sat back, and Donegal edged in the game. Take it from a Donegal point of view, after winning Ulster, everybody thought that, this team's unstoppable. So I think if Armagh won Ulster in normal time, we'd be talking them up a lot more than we are. We kind of forget that how good they were in that game. Galway, like, they've been just crippled with injuries, and the fact that they've come through and they've bounced back, got gradually stronger. I don't think they were at their best in the quarter final, and a lot hinges in the three big guys. Like, if they're able to hit form on Sunday, timing might be just perfect for them.
So the three big guys been Shane Walsh, Damien Comer,
and Kelly for me. Right. Kelly obviously didn't play against us, but I think we don't know. Nobody will know how fit they are until Sunday. They'll be on the pitch.
Fact.
Yeah. They'll definitely be on the pitch. But Comer was quiet enough in stages. Walsh's frees were good, but from play, But if those guys catch fire, like, they're unstoppable.
On paper, I think they look class. Yeah. Like when if they've everybody fit, and again, we're only making assumptions. They are stacked in terms of the quality they have. I really think they're a brilliant side, and I think what I like about what poor Joyce has done, particularly with Galway, is that we all made the assumption, and he probably said so himself when he came in, that he wants to play that kind of really attractive Galway brand of football. He got away from that now, and all of a sudden he's a really steely bunch of lads that are just impossible to play against. They don't concede goals. They're not relying as much as they were on the guys because they've been injured. They've had to rely on the depth of their squad, and they work like absolute dogs for every game. And if you look at their path outside the London game, they don't win the game by a lot of scores. So when it comes down to the crunch of it, they're able to get out there with a victory. So I think that's a great testament to what Porrick has done with that squad over the years, where he started to where he is now, and what he's done with them.
Is resilience a word that could unite the two squads, Kevin? Like, you think what Galway have had to go through. 2/3 of their panel missing for training at stages in the spring when they were trying to cobble together a side for the league. And then you mentioned the three guys who just never seemed to have been fit. Kieran McGeeney was missing for the entire league. They had a couple of guys like Ian Burke, for example, who's just not involved because he's elsewhere. That the amount of game time these lads got in the league, guys like Cian Darcy, means that their squad has depth to it now that maybe no other county in the country can rival at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And the two teams are similar in the fact that what they've had to go through. Yeah. Galway with their injuries and their setbacks and people leaving panel and different things. Armagh with the tight games, the tight losses, having to bounce back again. So, and I think the two of them are really similar in the way they play. They very strong defensive structure. But if both teams wanted a real shootout, there's no two better teams to go at it. Like if they choose to go down that route. So I think they're just so similar.
Well, let's kind of get a grasp on how we think the game will pan out. One of the reasons Galway did so well in the first half against Donegal in particular was Donegal pushed up on the Galway kickouts, forcing Galway to go long. But it would appear to me that the profile of player that Galway have, they can handle that absolutely no problem. And they made hay winning their own kickouts. So Armagh, who are stacked with big guys themselves, they have that option. What are they going to do? Are Armagh going to force Galway and Conor Gleeson to go long? Or are they going to let them have the kick out and then play it from there?
I think Galway want to go long.
Yeah.
I think they're dangerous when they do go long. Armagh have a serious press. They do it. They don't do it the whole game, but they do it in stages. I think you might see them give Conor Gleeson the kick out because, like, if they go long, there's just so much power around midfield. And against Donegal, they wiped us out, and we'd be quite confident that we have a good, strong middle eight. And I know that Donegal put a lot of emphasis on their kickouts, both opposition and their own. Galway were just completely dominant. So I think they want to go long, and I think Armagh will probably offer them to the sharp.
And yet Galway are well able to play the running game as well.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, it's funny, against Dublin, they went long in nearly the full first half, and they came out trumps more or less in terms of breaking ball. But I was watching the Armagh Gaelic game this morning just for my penance, God. Anyway, but it's funny. I keep forgetting how brilliant Galway's half back line is. Dylan McHugh, Liam Silk, and then Sean Mulcairn, who's come back from injury. He just adds more defensive stability there. But the two guys in particular, geez, even the semi-final against Donegal, I thought they were electric. Their hands, their running lines, they're just a brilliant platform for what Galway do. It's funny, Galway actually have a bit more variety than most of us think. Like, they kicked a couple of diagonals to get Cormac into the game against Donegal. Two of them came off, one didn't. Then they're able to then bring in the running game. But then equally, if you take their goal in the semi-final, they held the ball for nearly 2 minutes and then they get a goal. So they're very able to adapt to certain stage of the game and where they're at in terms of that game as well. So I think the running game is really strong. And I just think the way Pork has them playing, I think they can actually kind of change up their game plan better than most teams. But I do think Armagh are going to come with something different on Sunday. I think they did something different against Kerry in terms of their attack, and I expect them to bring something a bit more fresh to the Gaelic game, considering they're quite poor in that group game and probably lucky enough to get away with a draw. So there's definitely going to be one or two little factors that are going to change this game, I think.
What we haven't seen from Armagh, and people are forgetting it, like Armagh have a serious long ball game. We haven't seen it this year. Like, I was covering the Division 2 final against Donegal. We were down a lot of men. We're down our 3 full backs. And I was saying that these boys are going to bombard us. Not one ball did they go put inside. Now, maybe that's something they'll come with against Galway. But the two O'Neills can deliver an unbelievable ball inside. Morning inside, Turbot inside. They have the guys to do damage. I think there will need to be something different. Whether that's it or not, I don't know.
So do you mean different in that they might actually take that approach for a considerable period of time, or just varied as the minutes tick by? So a couple of long balls in, maybe go with a running game then for a few minutes to try and just keep Galway guessing, keep them on their toes.
Yeah, like a goal's a massive score. So, like, you know, Armagh, like, they've been unbelievable with this in periods, but they haven't done it for a while. Whether that's intentional, whether they just feel more comfortable, you know, recycling the ball and holding on to it. But I think if they do it, even O'Neill doesn't play inside that much. Will he stay inside this week for 5-10 minutes? You know, something that could happen. Like,
but even that group game was like, if you took the first half, like, I mean, Armagh had a gale force wind, but they dropped off Galway. They were against wind, and that suits Galway because they're very good holding the ball, retain the ball, and they'll keep it for as long as they want. They won't expand energy and come down to the stretch of the game. Galway are the ones who are full of running. So I think they look at that game because I think Galway performed them very well in that group game. It was only on the back of a mistake that Galway conceded their only goal of the campaign, and that essentially probably cost them that game in some regards. So Armagh will definitely have to come with something a bit different, a bit fresh. And I do agree. I think a long ball like that might, you know, tell Galway that they might have to retreat, give them the space on the outside then for some of their shooters. So it'll definitely get Galway and PJ thinking a bit more from that point of view. So I do agree with that. I think they're going to have to come with something a bit more fresh than they have against Galway up to now.
We all want a repeat of the Kerry-Galway final. My worry is that we won't get anything remotely resembling that game because Armagh will take the same approach that they took against Kerry, which was very clearly, let's just make sure we are in this game after 50 minutes. They didn't take any chances in the first half. And Galway, similar enough, I think they were almost toying with Dublin, as it turns out in hindsight in the first half. We're just going to make sure that we can take this Dublin team down the stretch because we know we have them. We know who's coming in off the bench. And I can't remember who it was in the last 24 hours. I saw somebody tweeting saying one of the FRC, this Jim Gavin-led rules committee, let's just get rid of the first half and just play 35-minute games of Gaelic football.
Yeah,
because
or let's just play at a time.
Yeah.
Someone has to go in it.
because nothing's going to happen.
Yeah,
So let's just say it's 112 apiece after 58 minutes. Now have at it, lads, and go for it. Because my worry is that's exactly where we're going to be around about the 60-minute mark on Sunday evening. It's going to be 112 apiece, maybe a point or two in it. Neither side have really fired any shots, and it's only then that we're going to see the managers start to play their cards.
That's the way it's gone, especially this year. Teams are just happy to be there at half time. So why not start game at half time and let's go? You know, at least people, the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes of game is when you see the game open up and you see the big players make the big plays. So, well, you know,
Why would either manager take a risk and go down a slightly different route? What is the incentive for them to do that?
just say Armagh go along the first 4 or 5 balls and they hit 2 goals. You know, it mightn't come off, but just say it doesn't come off. At least the ball's on the other end of the field and you can set it up. I just
Love to see
honestly
that.
don't get the over and back. And, you know, against us, even speaking to the guys since then, they came out to play a wee bit, but they saw what Donegal were doing. That's fine, we'll just do the exact same. So if Armagh are brave enough to go, I think Galway would be brave enough to go with them, or vice versa.
Yeah.
You know?
So are you saying Armagh are going to be the instigators here? That the game will be played on their terms and Galway just have the tools to go with, along with whatever's put in front of them?
100%. Yeah, I think if Armagh sit back and play their defensive structure, Galway will just mirror them and they're comfortable doing that.
Same way Derry Kerry. Derry set the terms of engagement that day.
Yeah.
Kerry just said, you know what, fair enough. That's the way you want to play it. It made for one of the most boring games of football we've ever seen.
Let's not go that extreme now, please.
But there's a risk
I
that
know.
that could happen
That
Sunday,
could happen,
isn't there?
yeah.
But
We get 10 minutes of football at the end.
there is a flip side. Yeah.
How often have we seen that
3
in the
minutes
last
maybe.
18 months?
Yeah.
Like 60, 70% of the games.
Yeah.
Certainly of the higher level games involving teams of Division 1, where it's like a game in the NBA. You can turn your back on it and come back in an hour, and if there's less than 8 points between the teams, sit down, watch the last quarter.
But we all predicted a boring game at Kerry Armagh in the semi-final, and we got a pretty damn good game.
Well, yeah.
I think it definitely didn't plan out as.
Tomas O'Shea, the Sunday game, were you on with him that day? You were talking up on the back of the 2 games. So Galway, Donegal the previous day. We've had 2 classic semi-finals. I was watching it going, the Armagh Kerry game was not a classic. It was brilliant for the last 15 minutes. Donegal Galway was a far better game, in my totally uneducated, humble opinion. The way you guys were talking up the Armagh Kerry game.
I wasn't at it.
Okay, so I thought you said you were with Tomas that day. I
No, he's on with him the following day, but
I thought Armagh Kerry was very similar to how this Sunday could go.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on for the first hour.
I thought it was decent enough. I didn't think Armagh would express themselves as much. But then, see, the thing as well, I think it's important to say, like, Armagh, like, if Armagh do go up, right, and they're into the third quarter and they're winning, that mentality then of knowing what's happened before in an Ulster final or a quarter final. So I think Armagh sometimes are nearly better chasing a little bit. So they're not going to use up all their trumps in the first half, because it's not that they're afraid to be in the. I think that's the silly thing to say, but when the game's in the crunch and they're up by 3-4 points, what's their mentality like then in a huge game like this, knowing what they've done in Ulster finals before? That's the flip side as well. So
And winning those 2 close quarterfinals and semi-finals will just reinforce that.
yeah,
And Galway are in the exact same boat.
Yeah. I think that
They've come through these close games.
Yeah.
They have no issue it being level after an hour.
No, they're happy, but I think Armagh are a far better side when they are chasing or when they need to win. Like, see, we've seen against Donegal, we've seen in the past, if they're up, you know, they look a shadow themselves because they start passing, you know, nobody's taking responsibility. You see it against Kerry, like Soupy Campbell or Needles score. You know, that's in the locker, but they just, whether it's self-belief, whether it's just sticking to the game plan, I don't know, but that's the way games have gone. Like, they only really play for 10 minutes now.
because Galway will be absolutely no doubt, if they're a point up or level with 5-6 minutes to go, they are in a brilliant position because they've come through all the games so far knowing that, and they're able to eke them results out because they know what's required. Where for Armagh, it's a different side of things. Will they be able to do that? They had showed against Kerry, definitely, but I just think Galway are better than the track further, have more experience, than Armagh to do that. So I do think Armagh, for me, will have to come with a bit more risk, more so than Galway, to go at it.
I would love to see Armagh play to their strengths from minute 1. And boy, have they got so many strings to their bow. They've got so many skillful players, brilliant long-range shooters. Rian O'Neill, that score he got again in the semi-final was, similar to the one you kicked against Kildare, where he's screaming for the ball and he swings it over from about 45 metres. But those moments are so sporadic.
But just from Lee, you'd probably have experience of this. Just say they're my guys, right? They've spoken about their tactics. They're going into the game. They're saying, listen, we're not going to gung ho. We're going to hold it tight. Just say you lose by a point. You're sitting in the bar on a Monday or Tuesday. And you're saying, listen, jeez, boys, we have more in us. Like I know the game is so tactical.
Biggest regret ever.
Is there any then when you came across where, listen, maybe we should have gone for about? I know you were different. You did go for it, but like, do you know what I'm saying? Would you rather get beat and say, listen, they're a far better side, or would you rather be sitting there saying, you know?
No, I think that's the worst position as a player. Knowing if you held stuff back, just take the hurling at the weekend.
Yeah,
they just let off the shackles completely and both went for it.
Yeah.
There was no regrets there. You know, whatever happens after that's fair enough. But from a football point of view, I feel if you kind of went out with a half kind of with stick in it, and then you lose by 1 or 2 points, that for me is just a no.
Must be a killer.
That's a regret in life. If you go for it and lose, you gain far more respect. Obviously, you don't get the medal that you're there to get, but from my point of view, no, you can't be like that. You have to. The teams that have won the All-Irelands, and it's been Dublin predominantly, have taken the most risk over the years and gone for the game.
But if they go for it and lose,
we went for it last low, but we had to go for it because it was the only way we could have beaten Dublin. If we sat back like teams did for a year.
You got to All-Ireland finals on the back of this chaos, this brilliant brand of football that everybody loved watching, and Armagh have got to the final on the back of resilience, been able to dig in, make sure you're in the game, heading down the stretch. Why would they change?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but like
you're trying to talk yourself into a potential classic this Sunday because you know the weaponry that is potentially within this Armagh group of players. But you know in your heart and soul that Armagh will not approach the first half this Sunday in that manner.
No, they won't. And it's just, I suppose, it's fear. Is it fear losing, or is it a drive to win? Like that's the balance. Like obviously they want to win, but I just think if you're going into that game and you're thinking, right, let's be there at half time. I don't know, you know, and just see you lose by a point, or
like if you lose by a point, you can pinpoint 1 or 2 moments: a bad wide, a drop ball, you know, a free that was given that you maybe shouldn't have been, a refereeing decision. You won't necessarily look back on the game as a whole going, oh, we didn't really go for it. You'll just go, the referee did us there.
There's still a certain pound of regret if you don't go for it in some regard. I still think, you know, to be the best, you have to go for it in some capacity. You can say you're resilient, but like if you're going to sit back for a whole game, I still don't, and you don't win, I still think there's some form of regret in that itself.
Have we seen anybody won the All-Ireland in the last 10, 15, 20 years who were safe and just played it safe? You know, the best teams have gone for it and they've gotten the reward. Like Galway have the weapons, Armagh have the weapons. So inside those change rooms this week, who's going to be ballsy enough to say, listen, boys, this is an unbelievable chance here. I'm going to back Homer.
What does going for it look like from a Galway point of view?
I think going from a Galway point of view is just like 3 up. Like they did that against Donegal. They left 3 up top, right? They started the game. So that shows to me that they're game enough to say we want to play this way. Donegal reverted back, so listen, they went back to basics. That's grand. I think the likes of the Comer, the Walsh, the Fillers up top and get as much ball. Galway are a good kicking side. They can mix it up. Armagh are a good kicking side. They can mix it up. I'd like to see more balls go inside from both sides. Against that, and Armagh in the league final, the game I mentioned, when our half back line was gone and our full back line was gone, 1 ball was kicked in the whole game. You know, if you lose an All-Ireland final and you're coming home, you're sitting in Cross McGlen or Katie or wherever you are, and you're thinking, geez, lads, we didn't kick the ball in once.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Galway, with the likes of Conroy and Matthew Tierney, these guys who can link play, who have a foot pass in them that's up there with anybody else in the game that can deliver it. Is that why kickouts and frees are so important? Because they're the only real opportunities you get in the modern game to get yourself set. And if Armagh, I really hope, I pray that they're going to push up on the Galway kick out. So I hope Galway do something similar and force Blaine Hughes to go long.
I think Galway pray for that too.
Because then we'll have 40, 50-50 duels, contests for the ball during the game around the middle of the field. And the ball will break to a Paul Conroy who can stick a 40-metre pass into Comer's chest, or the ball will break to Rian O'Neill who can pick out Turbid with a brilliant 50-metre pass. Outside of that structured set piece play, it's very hard to envisage the game splitting open to the point where it's end to end.
No, I don't foresee that. We got a bit of it in 22 in the quarterfinal.
A load of it.
Because I think they're relatively new to each other, and their system was a bit different than they are now. But I think where Galway are probably better at that in terms of it is a bit more structure. I think their hands are just brilliant. Like their hand pass, their link play from A to B and then to C off the shoulder. I think, like I've seen so many good clips to get that against Donegal late in that game where they're able just to pickpocket triangle kind of hand passes and break them down, and that bit of classy skill, I just see it in Galway. And then you're throwing in the top the likes of a Conroy who can kick a ball, or Dylan McHugh, or Turney, and these kind of guys, and Shane Welsh if he has one of his days again. They have that bit of goal dust that you're looking for to get over the line. So I still think Galway have that bit more variety in them to do that, without actually ever breaking out into chaos and madness altogether.
We're on about there that what's the right balance. I'm going to pick a player out in Galway which I think is the right balance of how the game should be played. Dylan McHugh, he's excellent going forward. His hands are unbelievable. But if you watch him, his first reaction is he's looking inside all the time. He looked inside 4 times against us. The ball mightn't have been on.
Yeah.
In the final, one of those balls wins the game, and that's the difference. If you go to Armagh, you go to a Donegal or somebody else, whereas the head might be down and it's first sideways, whereas he's glancing the whole time. And that's the difference. You don't have to kick it.
Silk is the same.
Silk is the same, yeah.
Carfin.
Yeah.
That's the way they play.
Yeah.
That's the way they play. They're heads up football. They really are, like Joe. And even if it's not a kick pass, he's actually scanned to see what's ahead of him straight away. Yeah. It's always a sign of a brilliant footballer that can do that.
Talk to me about Paul Conroy, who there aren't many lads still playing, Kevin, that you overlapped with career-wise, because you know it's over a decade since you played for Donegal, and yet here he is, Paul Conroy's surely a shoe-in for an all-star in midfield the way he's played. He's adding to the scoreboard 2 or 3 from play every game. That brilliant ability to foot pass, his ability as a fetcher in the middle of the field. At 35 years of age, coming back off that horrendous leg break, he's just an astonishing man.
It's unbelievable what he's still able to do, and he's done it his whole career. Like you know, Lee would come across him a lot more than I would, but he goes about his business quietly. Do you know what I mean? He leads by his actions, as you say. Like some of the scores he can kick, you know, and he's not afraid to get stuck in and won the dirty ball as well. So he's just a massive player for Galway, and I think you know they'll probably need a big one from him this weekend, and no better man to do it. Like,
so who's on him Sunday to try and curb his influence? Because you would feel that if Paul Conroy has a really big day and gets 20 possessions and gets 4 shots off, Armagh are going to be in trouble.
Yeah, well, Grimley's having a brilliant year, or Ben McCreely.
really, yeah.
Probably, you know, he seems like someone who's got legs for him and can put him on the back foot. I don't think you don't want to tie Grimley up from a man marking perspective, because I think he's too good going forward, and he gets on the end of moves predominantly. He gets 1 or 2 scores a game. So probably Ben McCreely is probably your one you're looking at, maybe to negate his influence. It's funny with Paul Conroy, though, actually, like the fact that he stuck around for as long as he did, considering the barren years he had with Galway. It's only in the last 4 or 5 years that Paul has really tasted a lot of success, and now he's getting the rewards off it, and as a result he's playing probably the football of his life. I think he's been just brilliant this year in terms of what he's done for Galway. Really has.
And the guys around him, obviously Sean Kelly has spent very little time with him in midfield this year. You would think that someone of Paul's age would struggle legs wise, but he's got Johnny Marr. He's just like, I don't know what he's on, but they need to start testing him.
He's a freak. He is a freak.
He's just non-stop. Astonishing athlete and great hands. Kieran McGeeney, former Footballer of the Year nominee, didn't play any league football, comes back in, bubbling along as the years gone on, getting better and better and better. And the last 20 minutes against Dublin was all-star material. They have so many weapons, and outside of the 3 guys that we're talking about, Kelly, Comer and Walsh, all of whom have major fitness doubts around them, to the point where they're that good now that they can win a game without those 3 really landing their shots. And if you said that 3 years ago,
no way,
you'd have been laughed at.
Like if you're Donegal going into that game, you're saying, right, okay, Kelly, keep Kelly quiet, so he didn't play. That's done. Walsh was quiet. Comer, you're thinking we're winning this game, but somebody else just, you know, maybe Finnerty Sunday, maybe Johnny Marr, maybe McDade, Dylan McHugh.
Yeah.
You know, there's just so many leaders there now, and that's how I think if these 3 boys now pay back their teammates for carrying them, then Galway in a serious position.
Yeah, 1-8 of the 114 they got in the semi-final came from that middle 8.
Yes, or 4 from half back.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Is that sustainable?
Yeah. This is again those guys are aiming for like your Dylan McHugh's, your Silks. This is their biggest day. You know, they're not looking to say, oh, listen, Walsh is back now, hand the ball to him. You know, their game confidence, they're playing well. Yeah, like the teams, Armagh now have so many areas to look at now. They can't just say, right, take these 3 guys out, because it was done against Donegal and it still didn't work. So right, those 3 guys need to be looked after. Who else needs to be looked after? And then where do you stop? So, you know, it's just, you know, I think they're just so, as you say, that middle 8 is so important. But then this really special guys up top then to go with it. Like.
I think what's been brilliant for this final, and even last year, like, you only have a 2-week build into it, so you have very little time to dwell on stuff, think about it. Obviously, injury point of view is a big thing, but like when we were playing, like, we had a 4-week build into it, like, and sure, you know yourself in Donegal or Mayo or wherever it is, sure, it's just pandemonium. Like, where now you get your 3-4 training sessions in, your gym session, a few meetings, and then the final top of you. It's a lovely position to be in from a player point of view. So it is. And
from a manager point of view, does it lessen the time that they can tie themselves up and not worrying about the opposition?
Yeah.
And what the opposition might bring.
Yeah, most managers now have, if you like, a file on who you might meet or who's going to be there. So I think the less time the better, because a 4-week build up into final, especially like some Mayo or Donegal, must be a complete from a player point of view. You know, so these guys are basically back home recovering Monday, might train Thursday, probably go away for the weekend training camp, and then they're ready to go. So I think it's ideal.
Oh, it's perfect from a player point of view. I love it. I just think it's class. That's definitely a positive for you. The only negative is that we're still digesting the hurling from last week. So
well, look, that's a different debate.
Yeah.
We could spend another hour of a podcast talking about championship structures and the calendar year. When you guys are preparing for those finals against Donegal, Tyrone, Dublin, how much did you spend focusing on the opposition?
You do a bit like in the probably first 7 to 10 days, and I suppose what you're trying to do is to look at their structure, what's gone on before them in the championship. Then you're trying to get your matchups really, and once you have all that done, it's very much about yourself then for the next couple of weeks, and make sure your body's right and try not to dwell. I think you start going down this rabbit hole of overthinking every possible moment in an All-Ireland final, and when you actually go into it, none of it actually plays out the way you thought it would, because it just takes on a life of its own. So for me, the best bit of advice I got was, and it's hard done, it's just try and enjoy the few weeks, because before you know it's over. And as you said, you're sitting on the Monday or Tuesday and you're dwelling on what could have been or what could have happened or should I have done that. And I wasn't probably looking enough to be on the winning side of it, but it goes by in the flash of an eye. So like for those players now in these few days particularly, it's just enjoy it. Enjoy the company with those guys you have, because after Sunday it's sure the year is over together. You know, obviously they'll have next week celebrating stuff, but to go back with their clubs and they do whatever. So I think it's really important for the guys to realise the opportunity they have, but just enjoy what they have, because listen, you work hard enough for long enough to get to these opportunities, and they don't come around that very often. So
we're recording on a Wednesday here, Kevin, so there's obviously a good bit of time before the 2 sets of teams are announced. The Sean Kelly conundrum aside, it's unlikely he'll be fit enough to start. He didn't play at all in the semi-final. Do you see Galway making any changes, Johnny Heaney or John Daly maybe, or are they just going that well and they're getting that much of an impact from their bench, maybe similar to Armagh, that what we saw against Donegal is what we'll see this weekend?
I think so. I think the fact that they are gradually getting better. I thought maybe John Daly might feature a lot more against Donegal, like a fantastic season, the season before that. You know, to have him there, I do think if Kelly is anywhere near, he has to start. Because you can't leave, you know, you can't have the opportunity of him coming in and breaking down and going off. You know, you'd rather start him. If he doesn't at last, then okay, you've got a replacement ready, and you've got like say, John Daly and these guys sitting there. I don't see too much change from either side, to be honest.
No.
It's looking at the subs, like he only made his first change after 56 minutes. Poor Joyce, in a game that was in the melting pot right to the very end. Johnny Heaney came in, and then it's into the 60s before he brings the likes of Daniel O'Flaherty and Daly and Malloy and Culhan in. So he obviously trusts the guys he's putting out there from the start.
Yeah, definitely. They've done it for him, you know, so there's no reason not to trust them, I suppose. The way the game went against Donegal, they're probably in control. Maybe if they were chasing the game or something, they might have changed things up a lot earlier, but they were in control of that game. I don't think they played particularly well, but I don't see too many changes this weekend, apart from whether Kelly or not, whether he starts or not.
I think for Galway, like I don't see Armagh changing up either, but I think from a Galway perspective, they'll know the threat in particular that Soupy Campbell has for Armagh. and they'll have a plan for that, I think, because he's just been instrumental in the last 2 games coming on, and the impact he has made. And even, again, going back to the group game, what he did in that second half late in the game to get the draw. So his influence will be something on poor Joyce's radar for the last couple of weeks.
So despite the impact that he had, you don't see Stephen Campbell starting?
No, I don't think so, no. Because
He'd walk into any other team in Ireland.
But he's done such a job coming off the bench, and when you have someone that brings that energy, and it's funny, Armagh give him the ball. It's not like they play around him; they actually give him the ball to do something. So they're so reliant on him coming off the bench to make that impact. I can't see him starting. No.
I would love to know how that conversation went, because that had to take place. Like, this just doesn't happen. You're sitting in the bench. So McGeeney and Soupy must have sat down and said, "Listen, he obviously believes he's good enough to start. We believe he's good enough to start." So McGeeney must have said, "Listen, hear me out here." So how do you lead that room thinking, right, okay, I'm comfortable with that. Like, you're not going to start in our round final, the biggest game you'll probably ever play. You know,
and a final in particular, like knowing that you're not going to be there for the parade, you're not going to be there to meet the president, you're not going to be there when Our on the Veen has been sung in the middle of the field and walking in behind the Artane band, and of all the other games, not to be in for the starting 15 for the final must be the one that hurts the most. So it is a real man management situation. I remember, you know, one of the great things that McGinley did when he was Ryder Cup captain was convincing McDowell that you're only going to play twice, because I want you going out number 1 on Sunday and leading us home. And he's playing to McDowell's ego. So is Geezer doing something similar with a Stephen Campbell, where he's like, if we're going to win, Sam, you have to be on the field for the last 20 minutes. If you start, you're unlikely to be there.
No, but it's testament to Soupy Campbell, because I know I'm saying I will be there the last 20 minutes, but I want to be at the start too. So the fact that he's saying, I agree with you, and listen, every game he's come on, he's lifted, like, not alone him, Charlie Ogg as well is a massive impact. You know what I mean? So he's created a panel there that are happy and they trust him 100%. So, you know, that's a massive strength for them as well, because I think their bench will offer a hell of a lot more than Galway's bench will.
I was delighted for Charlie O'Burns. If the game doesn't go to extra time, he doesn't even get onto the field.
But his first contribution is a point. Brilliant point, you know. Besides, just on Soupy, like, I hope people sat down and watched his second point against Kerry the last day. It's as good as a score you're ever going to see. Like,
magic.
How he takes it off as quick as he did. But, like, you're not going to throw your toys at the pram now. Like, you're not going to, if you're in that position now, knowing the group is in a really good place, and it's a tough, I agree 100%, it's a tough thing to do, but I'm sure Soupy Campbell has accepted this in some regards. Maybe internally he's a bit upset, but he knows that he's making that contribution to the panel and the team and the victories they've had. So I can't foresee him throwing the toys at the pram too much to upset the group going into an All-Ireland final, because I think he knows at this stage that he's probably resigned to the fact he isn't going to be starting the All-Ireland final day, but he also knows his role and impact on the team for that final and what he's done up to now. Okay,
well, look, we're at that stage where we kind of need to start putting our cards on the table.
Draw.
My prediction is the one that carries the least amount of water, so I'm going to leave mine to last. How do you see the game panning out, Kevin? I want you to tell me that it's not going to be like we described earlier, cat and mouse for an hour, and then whoever gets to the finishing line first lifts Sam. But I worry that is what you're going to say. So how does the game pan out if both sides retain 15 players in the field for the duration, and it is a dry day?
I actually think we're going to get a good game. I do. It's not going to be end-to-end from start to finish, but both of those teams do want to play fast football. So it depends how the other one lets it go. I think everything all week I was thinking this and that and matchups and different things. They're so evenly matched when you look at their last 3 games. They know each other inside out. I think it all comes down to the 3 we mentioned at the start of the show. I think if Comer, Walsh and Kelly are near enough fully fit, I just think they're going to have a wee bit too much.
A Galway man told me today, back Armagh, because that means Galway are going to win. So. I honestly think we're going to get a bit of a chaotic game in some regards. I do think it'll probably be the second half. I don't think the first half will probably live up to a lot of hype. I think it'll be a lot of back forward, but I think second half could descend into a bit of madness. I just feel it's Galway's time. The way they've gone about their business here, the way they've come out of games with the results, and the fact that they've got such a cohort now that have played at an elite level, I just think Galway by 2 on Sunday.
Right, so 2 Galways. I genuinely think it's going to be a draw. I think that Galway will play the game in third or fourth gear, and they'll probably be leading for the vast majority of it. I think Armagh will then have to chase it a little in the last 10, and they've shown they're well able to do that.
Yeah.
And they've come through so much adversity that they'll find a way to get it to extra time. And unlike Sunday, I think they're going to have to come back in a couple of weeks' time to do this all over again.
Wouldn't be bad.
Because I just don't. I can't recall a final where I felt it was as 50-50 as this one. There's a toss of a coin between these two, and for that reason, I am going to actually have to pick the splinters out of my arse. And
So we have to do a preview part 2.
but if I think if Conroy and McDade have big days and they get something out of the three lads you named, that maybe I might just shade it. But overall, I just find it very difficult to split them. I'm going to have to go with a draw.
Sitting on the fence like me
Where
last
are
week.
you on the fact that there isn't going to be a replay after 70 minutes if it's a draw? How did you feel watching Clare and Cork on Sunday?
I would listen to the commentary and I felt sorry for the lads. But then again, I didn't want the game to stop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say that.
So, like the likes of your Shane O'Donnells and them who weren't on the pitch, who couldn't influence the last couple of moments, if that would gone the other way, it's a harsh blow to take. But listen, that's what we are. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way it was. The game was so good, I just didn't want it to finish.
What about you? Having played in All Ireland final replays,
I don't mind the replay, to be honest. I don't think we're going to get the heights of the drama from Sunday. So I think if the two teams are matched at 70, I think a replay is fair enough for me.
yeah, I would agree. I'm perfectly happy to go to extra time and penalties after 70 minutes in the replay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. I agree 100%. But
what you put yourself,
Yeah.
your body through for the whole season, I think you deserve another crack at it. Now, there are others. I remember Jack McCaffrey talking about the 2019 final when obviously Dublin had to kick a late score to draw that game. He was almost crestfallen at the full-time whistle thinking, jeez, I can't believe we have to go through all of this again, all the hype, all the build-up, all the training, all the pre-match prep, all the sleepless nights.
No, Jackie probably had a holiday booked.
So I guess everyone's built differently, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's the whole thing as well. Like I remember at our times, you had bloody banquets, and do you go to it? Do you not fulfill it? Do you know what I mean?
So
Like,
what does happen on All Ireland final night? Do the two hotels are just left empty? Everyone goes home?
No. We attended for an hour. Then we just went back and had a recovery session the following day. I remember.
And so you stayed up?
Yeah.
There was no going home or anything?
No, Davy Fitz, similar Clare when they drew in 13, they went to the bank for an hour, had a recovery session on Sunday, and played the replay 2 weeks later. So it just depends on what people
I
want.
think it's more mentally for the players, isn't
Yeah.
it? To pick yourself back up on a Monday and go again for another 2 weeks or whatever it may be. Like, you know.
At the 17, we drew the quarter and we drew the semi, so we didn't care if it was a draw or not in the final.
Yeah. Well, you would have taken a draw now in that final,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? Listen, Kevin, it's been brilliant. I hope we get the game that we all want. I'm not sure we will, but I do feel we'll get at about 10 minutes, 60 to 70 plus injury time of gripping, mesmeric championship All-Ireland final football. So at least we'll get something of it. You've been a star. Thanks so much, Million, for coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Lee,
Thank you.
thanks very much. That is our All-Ireland football final preview, powered by William Hill. It has been the Square Ball. We've got plenty more really good guests coming your way in the weeks to come. All of our previous episodes, as we keep mentioning, are locked away wherever you get your podcasts or watching it on YouTube. We've had the likes of Sean Kavanagh and Aisling Thompson and Porrig Marv, Shane Dowling. So go back and have a listen to them. Get in touch with us on our social media channels. You can make your comments to us on our YouTube page as well. So do come back next week for our next guest. We can't wait to bring it to you. Thanks for listening and enjoy the game this Sunday.